Welcome to Talking Statamic, the podcast where we talk with developers and agencies and people who use Statamic every day. I'm your host, Michael Leroy, for this final episode of season 1 of the podcast. So it's been a fun ride so far, meeting a bunch of different people and talking about the Statamic community with everyone. Today, I'm joined by Josh Blum, who's a member of the core Statamic team. Welcome to the show, Josh.
Thank you. And thanks for having me. Was really looking forward to that. Just excited to be here on the podcast and being like the final guest of season 1.
Yeah. So thanks for being here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Tell us a little bit about how you came to be working with Statamic. What were you doing before? Give us a little bit of background there.
Yeah, sure. It's kind of a funny story and goes a long way back, actually. So some people know this, but I think for most people, they are just unaware, flying under the radar for a little bit. I've been using Statamic since version 1, actually.
Oh, wow. Way back.
When it was still running on a Slim PHP. And when I joined the core team, I was actually able to look at our purchase history, and I looked up myself pretty much. And saw that I bought my first license on April 1st, 2014. So 11 years ago now. Yeah. And I was 18 years old back then. I just stumbled upon Statamic by accident pretty much. Back in the good old days of when Twitter was still a really nice, cozy place. I started using Twitter, I think, in 2009. I accidentally stumbled upon Jack and really enjoyed his design work and the whole ethos and website and design of Statamic. I was still using WordPress for I was 18 back then. So I just did it as a hobby and being a nerd, just exploring things. And then I just tried Statamic. Actually went to a gas station to get one of those prepaid credit cards.
Okay.
To purchase the license. Because credit cards weren't really a thing in Germany a decade ago.
Yeah.
And that's how I got involved with Statamic in general, how I got started. Just built my first site with it. Just my personal website pretty much, and really enjoyed Antlers and the whole back then small community around it. But that is how I got started with Statamic and
So it wasn't even a pivot from, working in the Laravel space. You were just a hobbyist in WordPress. Was Laravel even on your radar at that point, or?
I was 18 back then, so it wasn't work. I wasn't working as a developer or something.
Sure.
I was still in school getting my high school diploma. I think it was the same year I got my high school diploma. And I was just messing around with stuff and trying out different things. I think that was I had a MacBook for 1 year back then, because as a student, MacBooks were relatively expensive. Not even as a university student, but just going to high school. So that's I switched from what is it called XAMPP on Windows to MAMP. And had I don't know all the stuff installed using Grunt and Gulp to compile my SAS and SCSS that was that were fun times. So I've heard of Laravel before at that point, but I've never actually tried it because I was just a teenager. Things I don't know object-oriented programming weren't really. I wasn't really aware what it is. I've never really tried it. So I wouldn't have considered myself a programmer back then, but more I was into web design, watching what is it all called? Tuts Plus and everything, all those videos on YouTube, the Envato stuff, and buying WordPress themes and
Oh yeah.
Customizing them to my like own liking. So it was just a way of Statamic. I've never tried Laravel at that point, but that all changed when Statamic V2 came out, which was like a Laravel application in itself, not like the package
Right.
like it is now that you can actually like install into any like existing application pretty much. So that was, I think, my first like touch point with Laravel then. But I still like mainly focused on Statamic itself and not like branching out and exploring Laravel like as a framework. That also came later with V3, and I think I started using Laravel with 5 point something, which was in 2018 or 19. And that was also around the time when I wanted to become like a freelancer and become like self-employed and work on client projects, which is also like part of my like story. I've never actually had a real job being employed somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to ask, what were you doing in those years between, first discovering those early days and then?
I was just like going to university, dropped out of computer science actually because it was not my thing really. It was like not like practical real world stuff, but it's not that I don't like math, but like I don't really enjoy it, I would say, and it's like a huge part of like computer science degree. And also like programming was all just C++ and just boring stuff to me. I was more into like practical applications and also like the crossing of like design and development. Like, yeah, I would have considered myself like a web designer back then. And then like kind of by accident, I got approached by a potential client who was like, "Hey, you know how to do this stuff, right?"
Yeah.
And that's how I built my first like paid project, really. Registered as a company here in Germany. And that's how I'm like, I wrote my first invoice and got my
Nice. Yeah.
first wire transfer for like a successful project. And that felt pretty great.
Yeah, that's
And I
pretty
was like,
exciting.
that's how I want to live. I don't want to like have like a regular 9 to 5 job, even though it has its benefits as well. Um, and yeah, that is how I ended up like never being employed like anywhere like in a real way, but like being self-employed, which is like kind of the case with Statamic as well. Like legally here in Germany, I'm self-employed. Like
Right.
I'm a contractor pretty much, which has its benefits. Like the size of Statamic, like being like relatively small, the amount of like bureaucracy and everything is really high, employing like people internationally, especially in the EU and in Germany because of like social security and health insurance and everything. So I just stayed like self-employed.
Yeah, I've had a few situations like that myself. I started my own business because I had a contract come my way that required me to be incorporated. So I thought, great, I'll do that. It seems like a worthwhile endeavor. And then it
Yeah,
sort of unfolded pretty naturally over the next few years. And
yeah,
here I am continuing to do that quite a while later.
yeah,
And, I've had other gigs where same sort of thing. I'm working for a company in a different country. It's just way easier to remain as a contractor on the books officially,
yeah,
just to keep
yeah.
things tidier. When did your relationship with the Statamic team begin?
It was like the fast track pretty much. I
Okay.
was somewhat involved in the community. I joined the Discord server. I opened like an issue or two like on the repo before I joined. Like just like when I built like client projects with Statamic, I had like a few like issues or something I ran into. But how I actually got involved with the core team was like a matter of hours and days, I would say. Yeah, because Jack just posted a tweet saying they are looking for someone to help with support who lives in one of the EU or like European time zones. And I was like, hey, that sounds nice. Like, I use Statamic. I know a lot about Statamic. Jack has been like an influence, or like, yeah, just like someone I would even say like look up to, like back then still, but like I was like impressed by his work, like when I was like 18 years old or something.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, hey, joining Statamic would be awesome. And I was still working on client projects, but I was like, hey, I can probably spare a couple hours a week. And yeah, just reply to that tweet of his. And we hopped on a quick Discord call. And I think that was maybe on a Thursday or Friday. And the next Monday, I started.
Wow. Okay.
Like kind of like a probation for a month, just to see how it works out. Like whether like the vibe is good, like and whether he's satisfied with my work and like everything. And we did that like for a month. And then it was like, yeah, wanna officially join the core team. And that is pretty much the story. A little boring almost, like because it was all like, I don't know, like a tweet, a reply to the tweet, Discord call, and that is pretty much all there is to it. Yeah, it's been that like ever since I think like my third anniversary is coming up in, I don't know, a couple of weeks. I think it was end of April or May. And it's just like a great time. Like the team is awesome since we're like such a small team.
Yeah.
And we are like distributed like around the globe. So we are like a fully remote company, and like we don't see each other often, like usually like once or twice a year. We might talk about that later.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, like it's all like just chatting in Slack, and like yeah, it's a ritual like to say like morning every time, and everybody like when they get to the desk like says morning. And yeah, third anniversary coming up. And I really enjoy being on the team.
Right on. Can you give us a bit of a picture of the kind of stuff that you do? I mean, on the website, it lists you as support/developer. So, like, what's the mix there?
Um, it's kind of hard to explain my role, I would say. It's not the usual. I mean, at Statamic, we don't officially like have titles or something. I mean, we all say like we are developers, and like Jason is the lead developer, and Jack is like the founder or like co-founder. And even though he considers, I think, himself more of a designer than a developer, he's a pretty good developer as well. But my role is like, yeah, I could have like the title like Jack of all trades or something. At heart, like I'm a developer, but I do a lot of support. But doing customer support or like even like developer support for a product like Statamic can't really be done by a like regular customer support like representative or something, because you really need like the knowledge of a developer. You have to know the ins and outs of the product. So sometimes like a ticket comes in, I request like access to the repository, install their project like locally, and try to find a bug or like fix the bug, or help them like, I don't know, improve performance with a, I don't know, like super like large site, or like a site having, I don't know, complex blueprints using lots of field sets. It's always different. Like every ticket is different.
Yeah.
So yeah, one thing I do is like, yeah, developer/customer support, but that also involves like demos and sales in a way.
Okay. Yeah.
So we have like quite regular like customers reaching out to us, who are interested in Statamic, and they are like at an enterprise scale. We had one recently who like signed up for our enterprise and premium support package, and I pretty much like did a sales demo and demo of Statamic, and like the control panel and everything for them, just answering their questions, listening to their needs and like what their project like involves. And that's also something I do.
Are you usually the first one that those kinds of prospects talk to?
Usually, yeah. I'm most of the time like the first point of contact because I monitor like support, like mainly like everyone on the team does support. Like for example, when there is like a super complex like ticket, I usually assign it to Jason or Jesse because they've been with Statamic for the longest time, and Jason knows every like line of code like
Yeah.
from the top of his head pretty much, or at least knows exactly where to look for. And I might need to like dive into the code for like, I don't know, like 20 minutes to like, just get the idea of it and like can actually like wrap my head around it. So everyone does support, but like I mainly monitor like our like help desk and support inbox. And when someone reaches out, like asking about enterprise support, I'm usually their first point of contact and might schedule a demo call with them, or depending on the time zone, could also be someone different. I even like a year back, I had like a sales demo with a company from Sydney, and I was at a co-working space, and I sat at the desk at like I think it was 5:30 or like 6 a.m. in the morning, because I did like a sales call with them and just adjusted to their time zone pretty much. But I also do the newsletter.
Yeah.
I usually write it, and there is now some automation to it. But before it was all like done manually, so it was like a truly like hand curated newsletter.
Yeah.
And somewhat of my like my child, I like try to take care of it like in the best way possible. And I just really enjoyed doing it, like writing the intro. Just like searching all over the internet for like Statamic content, because some people don't even share it much. So when I just, I don't know, like search for it on YouTube and just sort by recently added, sometimes there were like videos that weren't like or haven't been shared anywhere. And I then included them in the newsletter, obviously. On new site launches, now it's automated in a way that when you add it like to our new site showcase, it automatically gets added to the newsletter.
Oh, cool.
But some people just don't submit it to the showcase. Then I might add it like manually. Or like before there was like the automation to the newsletter, I just had a document in Basecamp, just listing all the new site launches, new partners, community content, which also included your YouTube videos for the WordPress to Statamic channel, or even like your podcast, or like I also remember, I think on your personal website, like you wrote a couple of articles about Statamic, and I also included them in the newsletter. And usually that's how I like know the community so well, because I usually read everything.
Yeah.
except if it's like a really long form article or like a video of like, I don't know, 45 minutes. But I most of the time read, watch, or listen to everything Statamic related. Let me I don't know, like summarize it. So I'm a developer at heart. I sometimes contribute like small PRs to the core, or even more like to our like .com website, or like to the docs.
Yeah.
I do customer support and also like the enterprise things like most of the time. I do like the newsletter, community or like community management, partner calls, or like managing the partners usually. Do some like operations stuff, like especially when it comes to like payment stuff and Stripe. So I think like maybe I'm even forgetting something. I don't know.
But yeah, like serious jack of all trades, that's for sure.
Yeah. Pretty much. And I think
Right on.
that's one of like my greatest strength, I think. Because I've never worked at a regular like job or company before. And I've always been self-employed. I have like the mentality of just like I don't need like micromanagement, or like I can figure most stuff out by myself, or even like be proactive about something. Yeah, I think that is what Jack appreciates.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things you learn as a self-employed person. You have to do a
Yeah,
little bit of everything. Some of it
yeah,
maybe not so well, but the vast majority of it has to at least be passable to get the
yeah.
job done.
That's the thing. I'm great at nothing, like, or like but good enough at a lot of things.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's the trick. So I'm curious, you talked a little bit about enterprise, um, fielding those calls with new prospects. How are those enterprise clients finding Statamic in the first place? And what are the sorts of things that they want to know? Like, are they comparing Statamic to a particular tool most of the time? Tell me a little bit about that.
Um, it's like a little like complex. It's not like enterprise is kind of special because it's like always different. Um, it's not always the same story.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Also, like how enterprise clients like find us is usually always different. Um, and depends, for example, hugely on whether this enterprise or this like company has like a in-house like tech department, or whether they are outsourcing it to, for example, an agency or like a bigger like tech company doing like I don't know like services for them. Um, Sometimes it's just, for example, a developer working at an enterprise who stumbled upon Statamic like in his like I don't know like personal time, like working on like hobby projects or something. Other times it's an agency, for example, that has experience with Statamic, maybe has been using it for I don't know like multiple years or like lots of projects, and they recommend it to the company. Maybe it was the case for like latest enterprise customer. The agency pretty much recommended it to them,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how they decided on Statamic. Pretty much, there was kind of like a tender. So like the um, company was talking to multiple agencies,
Mm-hmm.
offering different kinds of like solutions, CMSs, and in the end, they decided for that one agency, proposing Statamic. And when I have those calls with them, also it depends on the kind of enterprise and like the history and story. Sometimes it's like a large call with people from the agency and the enterprise. Other times I just had like a one-on-one call with a product owner or product manager, for example,
Mm-hmm.
or just like the lead developer or like IT manager of a company, and that also hugely influences the topics we talk about and the kind of questions they ask, and also the kinds of questions I can ask them. So if it's like a product owner, for example, they're usually less technical than developers. They have like a broad overview, which is part of their job. They are not developers, but they
Right.
like have the bigger picture in mind. Um, and we talk about I don't know like general features then, or like what's possible with Statamic. And when I talk to a developer or like IT manager or something who has like in-depth knowledge, it usually is like much more like in-depth. So we talk about how to implement a certain feature, whether a feature is possible, and like how to implement it. Even like I don't know, like they show me something in their current like system, and I tell them, okay, yeah, you could approach it with Statamic in this way. So yeah, the story is always really different, which is also like usually we try to keep the amount of calls we do as low as possible. because we're such a small and like dedicated team, and we want to be as efficient as possible. So usually when I schedule a call with a potential enterprise customer, I ask them to, and hugely appreciate it if they reply, ask them for questions in advance. Because sometimes like it takes a certain level of preparation, depending on the questions. A lot of questions I can just answer on the spot, but other questions I have to like do some kind of research for, like have to think about, like when it's like a really like complex feature they are asking for. My solution like on the spot would be maybe not ideal, but when I can think about it for like a couple minutes, I can like just sketch a like really nice solution for them, and propose it to them. Enterprise is also for us like kind of a, I wouldn't say like new field, but like we are trying to like have a better like, I would say like offering, or like to market, or like have better marketing around it. Because like enterprise can be really beneficial and like important for us.
Yeah, I think in my conversation with Jack, he was talking about, you know, a lot of the incoming new people or new adopters of Statamic are often developers or people that already work at agencies, and they're suggesting it as a tool, as opposed to larger companies coming in wanting to explore it on their own. Is there a particular feature or something that triggers the light bulb moment for these kinds of enterprise clients, or like, this is the thing that is convincing me?
Also, like I just said, like I could probably like come up with an answer on the spot, but if you let me think about it for like a couple seconds, I can probably come up with a better answer. Also, like one of Statamic's greatest strength is like its flexibility and scalability. And I think that's kind of unique in the CMS space almost. Like I'm not aware of any CMS that like offers this in the way Statamic does. So you can just have like a super simple site using our like static site generator package, and just host it like statically on whatever, like Netlify or something for free even, and scale all the way up to like the scale of TV2, the Danish like public broadcasting company, or like Spiegel, the German news outlet. And there are so many things in between that Statamic can just cover, and you don't have to really do anything. It's usually just like config changes, or like changes to how you host your application. And I mean, like for enterprises, or like for a lot of projects, could just be like done by one freelancer or like a smaller agency. Scaling is kind of like buzzword that they can maybe even sell like to their clients, but it's also really important. Because other solutions might limit you in the kind of scale they can like operate at, or like limit you. And then you have to change to a like different product or something, or switch to a different product, which comes with a lot of work. And Statamic can like scale all the way from like a super tiny site all the way up to news outlet size, with like millions or even billions of daily or monthly page views. And I think the scale, and also the data flexibility. So since we have like an adapter approach with Statamic, you can use flat file by default, or just switch to the Eloquent driver, but it can also come up with your own like data model and adapter, and store things in an entirely different way that we are not even aware about, like or have never thought about. You can pretty much make everything work with Statamic. And that's one of Statamic's greatest strength, and I think one of the points that enterprises like like the most or appreciate the most, and maybe it's like the light bulb moment. Because yeah, Statamic is just super flexible. The UX is really one of Statamic's greatest strength when it comes like to the like end user interacting with Statamic. Because Statamic itself, like as a product, has like two target audiences in a way. One of them being like the developers working with it and like developing the app or like site, and the other like target audience is pretty much control panel users, because we say every Statamic site needs a developer, which is like part of our documentation, and we link to it quite a lot of times when like support requests come in, because some people just don't have a developer. They maybe the dev built the site like a couple years back, and then people just reach out to us like asking questions, and we say, yeah, your dev needs to implement this. So like end users, control panel users being like one of the target audiences, or like one of the audiences like interacting with Statamic, is also really important, which is why like Jack being like an awesome designer, and Jay now also being on the team, being an awesome designer, will help like make the UX, we call it authoring experience, is also really important. And if you ask me, but I'm biased, ahead of a lot of the other CMSs out there. And even though me as a dev, I don't use the control panel that much, to be honest, I also like just edit YAML and markdown files like manually. But still, when I use it, I really enjoy using the control panel.
And I think there's been some sneak peeks in recent partner calls about improvements even to the control panel. Can you tell us a little bit about some of those changes that might be coming?
I don't know how much I'm allowed to share.
Okay.
But I can share that like V6 will have some like I wouldn't say like maybe like dramatic changes, but like a lot of changes to the UI and UX. And there is a reason it was just like on the partner calls and not on YouTube or something.
Right.
Because we're still like in the early phases pretty much, and collecting a lot of feedback from partners, because partners usually are the people who use Statamic like the most. Whether it's freelancers or agencies, they usually have like tens or even like hundreds of sites like under their belt, and interact with clients. So like they get feedback from their clients about Statamic, and they can forward that to us pretty much, and also like the developer feedback, building sites and apps with Statamic. And that's why we haven't shared it like really publicly, because it's just like the it's all work in progress. But one of the nice things is that it's gonna be way more tidy than it is now, also in terms of extending and customizing the control panel, because we are planning on offering a UI kit, a set of components pretty much, that you can use in the control panel when you're building add-ons or doing other custom stuff in the control panel. And it's not just gonna be a fresh coat of paint. What do you call it? Like paint of code? No, coat of paint, right? So it's not just the looks, but also how it works and how you interact with it.
Well, that's pretty exciting. I think that's definitely one of the valid criticisms of a platform like WordPress, where you're building a plugin and the user interface at that point is kind of the Wild West. I mean, like there's not necessarily a consistent design language. I mean, you can sort of, if you figure out what the CSS that the core WordPress admin uses, you can sort of repeat that, but there's no I don't think there's any sort of universal, here's a design system to help sort of
Yeah.
keep things feel native. So that's pretty exciting. I think a lot of people will benefit from that. How would you say that the community involvement in these kinds of things is important for Statamic? I mean, the core team, as you said, is pretty small. Do you really rely on community involvement for for providing input, for making these kinds of what might be a big change?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like Statamic being open source, or like that the source code is available on GitHub, um, changed a lot when we made the switch with V3. Like way back with V1 and V2, it was all like closed source, and you had to like get a license to being able to download the or like to download a zip containing the source code. And since we made the switch to GitHub and our repo being public, we benefited a lot from the community. And I think it's kind of like a win-win for both, because we benefit from like community contributions, which can like be like saying it like in air quotes, like a small thing, like just translations, all the way to like major changes. For example, one thing that started as a community thing by a guy, I forgot his name, but shout out to you when you hear this. You know who you are. The dark mode. Jack then changed a lot of things, and like it was like a big undertaking for him, and like was like the diff of the PR was like huge. But for example, like it started as a PR from the community, and Jack was like, okay, let's tackle this now.
Awesome.
So like, yeah, it's a win-win situation, really.
Dark mode for the control panel in Statamic is really awesome.
Yeah, it's one of the nicest dark modes. Yeah.
Speaking of dark mode, this is where I'd like to ask the most important questions that everybody's dying to know. In your work, do you prefer dark mode or light mode?
Maybe you can guess from like the brightness of my screen that I actually prefer to use light mode, but not for my code editor and terminal.
Okay.
So I prefer to use light mode for like everything. My system is like set to light mode, except for my code editor and terminal, and maybe like another one or two things I can't really think of now. But I just don't enjoy dark mode that much for like the whole system. So yeah, light mode all the way with an asterisk to it.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I think that's like the diplomatic answer, pretty much.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was the same with Marty on our previous episode. You know,
Yeah.
he sort of depending on the device. You know, maybe it's automatic, or maybe it's always dark, and maybe it's always light, depending on the situation or the app or something.
Yeah. For the phone, I've set it to automatic, actually, but like just on a Mac, like light mode.
Okay, another controversial topic is pineapple on pizza. Is that a thing in Germany?
Yes, it's a huge thing, actually. Way back when Germany was like still two countries, like between the like, what was it, like 50s and like end of the 80s, there was like a thing called Hawaii toast.
Oh, okay. Tell me about that.
Yeah, and it was actually just a slice of like toast, like regular like white bread toast, with a slice of pineapple on it, and ham and cheese, and you put it like in the oven and like bake it pretty much.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so pineapple on pizza is actually huge here. I'm aware of a couple of people who don't like it, but I think they are actually in the minority in Germany. So personally, I really like it.
Awesome. Right on. Okay. Well, I think we can call that a wrap. So thanks, Josh, for being the last guest for season 1. For those of you anticipating season 2, it is in the works. I don't have a firm timeline on that just yet, but I am planning on season 2. So it might look a little bit different from how season 1 has been, but we shall see. So thanks everyone for watching and listening. It's been fun. If you enjoyed this conversation, please make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast player or over on YouTube if you prefer to watch, and leave us a review or a comment. You can follow us on X and at Blue Sky at Talking Statamic, and join the mailing list at talkingstatamic.com. And please also remember to check out my other YouTube channel, From WordPress to Statamic. Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll catch you on the next one. Ciao.